Buddy. Good morning, good night, good evening, whatever time it is. No fancy introduction today, no dark, mysterious introduction. We're not doing that today. We're doing it a little bit different. It is currently raining torrential downpour in Texas right now. It is 2 o'clock in the morning. It has been raining since 9 o'clock p.m. And the reason I'm up so late is because I have to record, and Riverside was acting up, but I got it to record. Somehow fixed it. I didn't fix it. It just started working better. Today's stories, their stories, are supposedly true ghost stories from Mexico. And this one is from a website called, I actually got them from a website. This one is yourghoststories.com. And they're ghost stories, real ghost stories, countries, Mexico. So we're going to pick a couple of them. We'll read a couple of them. And we'll do ghost stories. If I could honestly put in my own backdrop, it'd be the rain from outside. No, I can't. I thought about what if I added a camera outside to catch the rain. I could. I don't know. It's a lot of work. I didn't think about that. We are in the backdrop again. I wonder if I take down this, will it help? Okay, so the green screen works amazingly because that's just me disappearing with the green screen. Anyways, enough having fun with that. We're going to read some real ghost stories. But like always, some weird and strange news from Latin America. This one comes from Mexico 2 days ago, and it falls perfectly aligned with the podcast. It's Spooky Mysteries. Police say 5 people died in Mexico from drinking a poison potion and a Santeria power ritual. And this happened in the state of Oaxaca in Mexico. I could go into the full story. I don't really want to. Let me just read this real quick. 4 men and 1 woman died after drinking a mix of substances. He did not specify what they were. He says that they were involved in Santeria, a faith that began in Cuba, where African slaves blended Yoruba spiritual beliefs with Roman Catholic traditions. Mixed the potion themselves, and they drank it themselves to acquire some certain kind of power, and they're investigating them. Yeah, that's it. There's no real... there's a whole article about it, but there's been 10 cases of that in the past. But that is... don't mess with stuff you don't know. They probably knew something about it, but if they're just mixing some stuff that they think's going to give them power, and then they died, they didn't know enough. Or they angered the wrong spirits. Who knows? So, we're going to pick a couple of the stories. I'm on page 1. We're not going to deviate from page 1. Because page 1 scrolls down a little bit. So, we're going to start with La Bruja. 2 stories in one happened in Mexico. This was submitted by Jasmine314 on this website. Haunted places. 2 stories in one. Not that long, so we're going to do a couple stories. The story takes place in the beautiful country of Mexico. This is Jasmine, or the publisher, OP. I was about 10 years old. My family planned to vacation to my mother's hometown in Mexico. We live in Missouri and decided to drive there, so we had about a 2-day commute. Everything was just fine until we reached the border of Texas and Mexico. We noticed that my mother was asleep and it looked as though she was having a nightmare. She began screaming, "No, don't touch me. Leave my family alone." Then she woke up. We asked her what happened. She said that she dreamt as we were crossing the border, all of the dead souls of Mexico began to surround the car and reach their arms into the car, grabbing her and the rest of us. She said there were hundreds of them, and they were trying to stop us from getting in. The odd thing about this is she dreamt about being at the border when in reality we were actually at the border. She couldn't have known that she was sleeping. So we made it through the border, and about 8 hours later, we made it to her hometown, Ario de Rayon, Michoacan, Mexico. Town, state, country. I don't remember much about the visit, but I do remember that one day we went for a walk throughout the woods. It was a normal day, and me and my brother and sisters decided there was absolutely nothing to do. All of the elders got together to make lunch, and we somehow were the only children there. That's how it is in Mexico. Sometimes there's absolutely nothing to do with nobody around but old people just making food, getting ready for the night. And then it's just you and your brothers. And, I got brothers. So it's just me and my brothers. And there's really nothing else. That's when trouble starts. We ate lunch and decided to go on a journey through the woods. Little did we know it was a bad idea. We walked down the road until it came to a dead end. From there, we walked through the plains that led into a wooded area. We walked about 100 feet into the woods. Then it began to storm out of nowhere. This was very odd. It was a very sunny day, and there was no signs of a storm coming. We all looked at each other very confused. Then all of a sudden, we heard a woman cry. Her cry was painful and would end with a scream. I was so frightened we all just stood there frozen and didn't say a word. The cry began to sound like it was getting closer. We just stood there waiting to see what would happen. Suddenly, my sister let out the most horrifying scream ever. The rest of us looked at her and she was staring up into the trees. We all looked to see what she was looking at. I will never forget that scream, and I will never forget what I saw. In the trees that day, a woman, crucified about 40 feet up in the air. She looked down at us, and we looked up at her. She was wearing a faded black torn dress. Her hair was dark and tangled. She had scars on her face and legs. She looked like a zombie. After a few seconds of us screaming and crying, we began to sprint out of the woods. We looked back, and the woman was gone, but we kept running. As soon as we hit the plains, there was no more rain. We stopped running and recollected ourselves. We didn't understand why it wasn't raining anymore, and it looked like it had never rained. We walked back into town, gathered with the elders. They noticed right away the terror in our faces and asked us our whereabouts. We told them itchy leg. We told them our story, and to our surprise, they believed us. We cried as we told the story, and then sat back to hear the elders' explanation. They explained that about 100 years ago, there was a woman who was accused of brujeria, accused of being a witch. She was murdered by the townspeople. Before her assassination, when she would walk the streets, people would often throw things at her. Some would throw crucifixes. My grandmother said that there have been people that claimed to see her in the woods, but most reports were made by children. The raining was explained to be a sign of pain and sin. The encounter traumatized me as a child. I will never forget the sound of the woman's cries, followed by lightning and thunder. I couldn't speak of this to other children in school because no one believed me. I once told my best friend, but she laughed and said I freaked her out. After that, she never talked to me again. From then on, I never told anyone of my story at the kids. I never told any one of my stories at the kids at the school. Please feel free to comment. I'm open for discussion. There are a couple comments. This was posted 15 years ago. Some people are denying it. They're saying that I used to live there, and it's too far to drive. I don't know. Some people say they're from there. They've never seen woods. That makes it even creepier. I'll leave that up to y'all to decide. I could honestly, if I really wanted to, I could go Google this area and see if there's any woods, any wooded areas there. But this was 15 years ago. The whole area could have changed by now. Oh man, she has like 15 stories. I don't know. Maybe she's just a good storyteller. Let's see. It was in Mitchell. I really want to Google it now. I'm not going to do that. That's a whole nother day. She has 13 stories. Either she attracts the paranormal like no other, or I don't know. I don't even know what to say. What y'all hearing right now is me making a note that is the first story. It's La Bruja by Jasmine. Got to make my notes. Oops. Next story. That one was actually kind of creepy though. Gave me a little bit of goosebumps. Let's see. Peeing with the Ghost. You don't read it. We'll do Peeing with the Ghost. That's an interesting title for a story. It caught my attention. We're going to read it. It's a short one, so let's go. I'm out of drinks too. I don't have my drink with me today. Okay, so this one, take it with a grain of salt because this is one of those, what is it, FAFO? Friend of a friend? FAF? This is a friend of a friend story. One of those stories that you're like, oh, it happened to somebody that I know. Somebody that I know, somebody they know what happened to them. So take it with a grain of salt. This was submitted by Bacon Baby, and it is Peeing with a Ghost. Nose itches. This didn't happen to me, but it happened to my aunt and the little lady she takes care of. The little lady is sick. She has a mental disorder. She has the mind of a 5-year-old, and she has been like that her whole life. She's about 46 years old right now, and my aunt is kind of her nurse, takes care of her. Well, one night they were all sound asleep. They were the only ones in the house, and my aunt woke up in the middle of the night because she had to pee. And this is in Mexico, by the way. And over there, some bathrooms are outside, way in the back of the gigantic corral or backyard, like an outhouse. I can attest to this. On my family's property in Mexico, we had an outhouse. I think they recently covered it up. At my great grandmother's house, there's an outhouse there. They also have indoor plumbing. It's an old house. A lot of properties still have the outhouses. A lot of them are being covered up nowadays, but if it's an old house, you can tell where it was. And at night, these enormous yards look terrifying and pitch black. So she really had to go pee. She tried to hold it in because she was so scared to go all the way out there all by herself just to go pee. But she just couldn't hold it in. So she woke up the little lady and I kindly asked her if she would accompany her to the bathroom because the little lady gets very grumpy when you wake her up, just like a 5-year-old. The little lady was like, "Okay, I'll go with you." She speaks like a little kid. And she just got up and put her little slippers on, and they both went. My aunt was really scared to go out there, but the little lady does not really. The way they write. But the little lady does not really know anything about danger or ghosts or monsters. She doesn't know any better. She was just all calmly with her, not even a bit scared. Man, I'm sorry, but some people's proper, like not even proper grammar, just typing stuff up. They type the way they think, but they miss certain words because people's brains work a lot faster than their hands. So they're missing some stuff and it's not translating well, and it's giving me a hard time because the way I read is that same way too. I just read it out, spit it out, boom. But then as I'm processing it and saying it at the same time, my brain just shuts down and I'm like, wait, something was wrong. I do this at work all the time when I'm giving classes because I train all the new people that come in, and if the slideshows or presentations that I'm giving that day were not done properly and I'm reading it to them, I will fumble over my words and I will straight up be like, look, I'm sorry. I didn't write these up. These were sent in by our corporate offices and they don't know what spell check is. Sorry about that tangent. Okay. So when they reached the bathroom, it's late. So when they reached the bathroom, my aunt went in and the little lady sat outside the outhouse on a little log waiting for her. My aunt was inside peeing and trying to make conversation with the little lady, so she knew she was still out there and didn't leave her to go back to sleep. When all of a sudden my aunt hears the little lady shout, "Hey, get out of my house, get out, get out." My aunt freaked and asked her what's going on. The little lady was very mad, telling her that there's someone in the house and that she wanted to go kick them out. My aunt was like, "No, stay here, don't go anywhere, don't leave me here." All this while she was peeing. The little lady just kept saying the whole time, "Look, he's inside the house, tell him to leave." My aunt got out the bathroom as fast as she could, but when she went out there was no one there. She asked the little lady where he was, and she took her to the exact spot where she saw him and said, "He was walking here, but I scared him away when I yelled, all proud." Now, the thing about this is the little lady's mental disorder does not give her the ability to just make up a lie. She wouldn't know that her aunt was scared, and it would be fun to scare her by telling her there was someone there. She just doesn't have the ability. She can't make things up. So whatever she saw was most likely there. My aunt says she thinks it's the spirit of her grandfather because he has been seen there a few times. That's a good story. Quick, concise, bam. Some of the comments. I believe you on this story because I know someone with a disorder and the mind does not process what it's supposed to at the time of their life. So whatever the woman has seen must have been there. I would love to know more though. Which is true. I used to work with children with mental disabilities, and my son, he tells a little fib here and there, but all in all, he tells the truth. And the children that I worked with, helping them in their day-to-day lives, they're very blunt. They're very honest. I'm thinking about, no, I don't want to help. Go away. Nope, don't do that. Nope. I was trying to do a split screen, but that way I'm not staring like this the entire time. But I'd have to do this. Aha. I'm smart. Now I can start right at you. So, there's a story here. And if you know anything about the paranormal, there's certain demons that you can summon for certain things. There's demons you can summon. There's demonic spirits, hellspawn, whatever you want to call them. Powerful demons that you can summon. One for knowledge. That'll give you just knowledge. And if I'm not mistaken, there's really no downside other than your eternal soul. But it's just knowledge. And, there's demons for everything that you could want. One to help you with languages, one to help you with, whatever you want. Right? And then there's just demons like vampires, which you can classify them as demons or hellspawn, whatever you want to call them. The undead, the unholy. And amongst these, there's a certain class. Focus. Am I just moving too much? Probably it. Amongst these is a certain class called succubus. Now, a succubus is like a vampire. They feed off life essence. They don't necessarily kill, but they do. In the end, that's what happens. But the way they feed off the life essence is that there's two classes. There's a male and a female. Females are succubus. Males are like incubus, I think. And the females, the succubus, feed off male life force. They suck it out the straw. I don't know how else to put it. And this one caught my attention. We're going to read it. This one's not that long. This is very funny. Well, I don't know if it's very funny. The comments. I scrolled down to the comments. Can you tell me the website so I can avoid it? Are you serious? You want some spirit to have blank with you? I've commented. Just like, this one guy's like tearing it up. Like, why are you doing this? You don't need a spirit. Is there something wrong with you? With what I said, I don't see why there should be. I'd like to be visited by a succubus. So what? Great story. I wish I could have one. That's funny. Okay, well, let's read the story here. In paranormal category, succubus, incubus, sexual ghosts. And that's actually a thing too. That's a subcategory. I could have done that for Valentine's Day. Mental note for next year. This was written by Legendary. Oh, actually, I forgot to make my notes. The last one was written by Bacon Baby, and it was Peeing with the Ghost by Bacon Baby. So let's get on with this debauchery here. I'm currently in a relationship with a succubus. Her name is Ella. I first encountered Ella when I was up on night surfing the web. What he meant to write was I was up one night surfing the web, but he forgot the E. I was looking for random stuff. Since I was bored, I typed in summoning angels. Nothing of interest came up. Afterwards, an idea came to mind. An aha moment. I decided to search up how to summon a sexual ghost. I searched through the results until I found stories of people who had experiences with sexual beings known as succubi. I read through tons of stories that got me very interested in succubi. I spent about 1 hour looking at this stuff. I started wanting a succubus. At that moment, my back started having this tingling. It went down my neck, went down and up my back in a slow, arousing way. My hand I was using, the mouse, started feeling a sensational numbness to it. I instantly stood up to shake off the feeling, but I couldn't help but have an excited feeling that I probably have my own succubus. They forgot a U. So I went into my bedroom and lay down, waiting for the succubus of mine. Moments after I laid there, the tingling began, starting from my right leg and moved up and down into my pelvis. Then it would switch to my left leg. My hands felt like they were being lightly touched. I started to feel this tingling all over my body. At that instant, the tingling went to my area. I'm gonna take it. If it gets too explicit, I'm gonna take out some words because this is starting to get cringy a little bit, like a little. I shouldn't be reading this. I feel dirty. Okay, it felt like someone was slowly. See, if I leave this part out, you're not gonna know what it says. I could, you know what? It felt like someone was slowly stroking me. It caused me to have an erection. I started to have this out of breath sensation, but it was very comfortable. I felt breathing on my face, then this amazing, incredible sensation started overwhelming me. At the same time, I felt as if I can only describe it as a woman's soft bottom sitting on my area. And in the mix, it was such. Streamlabs keeps trying to open up. Streamlabs, go away. And in the mix, it was such an intense sexual tingling that I caught myself moaning at the time. I couldn't believe what was happening. Then it slowly went away. A couple hours later, I went to sleep. I had a dream where this short, black-haired woman, very hot, would appear, and we would have intense relations. And the next morning, I woke up with an intense erection. This was the first time I came in contact with her. So he just got aroused laying in bed. He felt something on him. But a lot of times, I'm not an expert in it, but I've read about all sorts of stuff. That's how I kind of know what a succubus, incubus, and sexual ghosts are, because it's interesting. Some of these are interesting. Like there's actual cases where, like, oh, I'm pregnant with, it's a ghost, and that's what got me interested in all this stuff, because of weird things like that. But a lot of times, the way it works is you get paralyzed. You're asleep in a deep sleep, and you do have a fantasy dream, and then you wake up and you're like, whoa, whoa, what was that? So I'm not gonna lie, I could have suffered from something like this. Deep rooted stuff in my own past. Don't worry about it. That's a story for another day. Sleep disorders. Anyways, a couple days later, I started trying to communicate with her. I could not hear her voice, but it was like she was speaking to me telepathically. I asked her what her name was, and she responded, Ella. I started talking with her, asking her questions, and she would answer every one. A couple weeks later, when I was with a good friend of mine, I told him about the whole thing. He said that was creepy and weird. Then I heard him moan a little. I looked over at him, and he was looking down at his area. Ends up he was having the same experience with Ella. He had the exact same experience in front of me, as I was in awe that not only was it in public, but that it was the succubus I had. As I became slightly angered at my friend and Ella, I left. Then Ella apologized to me for what she had done. I forgave her. Ever since then, we have been close. What? So, he's out with his buddy, like at a park, at the bar, wherever. They're out, right? And he's like, dude, I've been having the craziest things going on at night with a ghost. Like, you wouldn't believe what was going on. And he's like, you lying, dude. You've been up too long. You've been looking on the internet way too many times. You finally cracked thinking about the paranormal. Like, whatever, dude. I don't gotta believe this. And then I know where his buddy was like, and he was like, with my ghost? I don't even know, man. If somebody told me this and I told them that they were lying, and I just started, I went, praying and walk away. And I'm never talking to that guy ever again. I'm like, you and your sex demon, get the fuck away from me. I can't. Oh my god. Let's finish the story. This is too much. Oh my god. That night, Ella apologized. Okay, whatever. 1 month later, when I was moving, the encounters at night had decreased to just feeling light tingling to nothing at all. Since I read stories of the same thing happening to other people and their succubus would come back a little while afterwards, I did not worry. One night, while I was on my computer, I heard a female voice say my name. It scared the crap out of me, but afterwards, I knew what it was. Ella. Now, the encounters have decreased, but I have a feeling they will increase because I realize that Ella is trying hard to communicate with me better, and that is my relationship with a succubus. I don't even know what to say about this. Like, I've heard of encounters. I've talked about some of these things too on my podcast of, things like this happening, but a first-hand report of this, I have never heard of this before. That's 1, 2, 3 stories. That one was that one was too funny. Let's get serious. Let's get into like an actual scary story. Shadow people are a real thing. Cabra hombre. Nah, that one's apparitions, paranormal attack, uncle's frightening encounter, angel or Mayan god. That's actually a good one. The name, but I think we are gonna go with the laughing shadow. Nah, that was a good one. I don't know. There's a couple good stories here. Attacked by the Dead. Okay, cool. I was looking through them. Attack of the Dead. Another short one. So, this one's category is apparition, voices, and touches. That one was a lot of touching. Soul. Attack of the Dead by Beautiful Soul. How do you spell beautiful? I will tell you how I spell it. Beautiful. I learned that from watching movies. That's just how I learned how to spell some words. It's how they spell them in movies when they make fun of the word. How to burp. Okay. This happened to me a while back. For as long as I can remember, I've always had a feeling if something bad is going to happen, I would have this strange feeling, or if I met someone and get a bad feeling, I can easily pick up on why. I don't know why. I'm just like that. But this experience, I never understood it. Why did it happen? They have a strong intuition. I have a pretty decent intuition about people. I haven't been wrong. But I haven't been like, this is why. It's just like, I'm getting a bad vibe off of you. And I'm usually right about it. Anyways, every time I take a break from reading, I yawn. For a long time when I was younger, I always felt like someone was watching me. And I always had a bad feeling from it. I started getting used to it and would just ignore it. I've always had experiences, but this one was the worst. I remember waking up in the middle of the night because I felt someone sitting on the edge of the bed. And that someone or something was watching me. I instantly got a really bad feeling. I slowly opened my eyes and saw a black figure sitting down on my bed. I couldn't see its face or hands, just a black robe. And it had its head turned towards me. I was scared. I was shocked. But I got the courage to tell it to go away. I called it bad words, and I mean everything in the book. I just turned around and went back to sleep, trying to ignore it. Then a while later, I felt the same feeling, but this time, I felt like something was next to me, standing up. I turned around and opened my eyes, and the figure was standing up, looking down on me. I felt a pressure in my chest. It was trying to choke me. I couldn't scream. I couldn't say anything. I was trying to scream out for my mom to come into the room, but I couldn't. Finally, it stopped, and I yelled as loud as I could for my mom. She came running in, turned on the light, and asked what was wrong. I told her. I still remember the look on her face until this day. I had red marks around my neck and scratches. I couldn't believe it. I was trying to brush it off like it was just a bad dream. But clearly, something was trying to hurt me that night. Until this day, I don't know what it was or why it was trying to hurt me. I never saw it again, and I hope I never will. But if anybody has answers to this, please leave your comments. This one falls under the category of sleep paralysis, but with physical marks. Kind of makes it different. See, with like the appearance of like marks on the neck, kind of go away from sleep paralysis, because sleep paralysis is just you're stuck. But with the ability to be able to move and then happen again, and there's an actual physical manifestation on the body from pain, it kind of points away from sleep paralysis. But that's a scary one, because like I said, shadow people are real. I got family stories of it, not long detailed like this, because I didn't catch them. I didn't, I wasn't told these stories when I heard them, because I was very young. I just heard like bits and pieces of it, because they didn't want to say it, because I was young and they didn't want to scare me. But little did they know that that piqued my interest. I was like, ooh, say more. But no one ever did, because I was a child. So I think I have to yawn again. It's like thinking is too much for my brain. Anyways, check this website out. It's called yourghoststories.com / real ghost stories, real ghost stories .ph, something like that. I don't know. Just type in yourghoststories.com in Google and find it. You can go by country. Mexico has 2 pages and I'm looking at them from newest to oldest, and they are old stories. Oh, this one's new. This one is from April? February. I don't know my months. Should we do one more? Nah, I'm tired. We're going to do one more. The Time I Saw My Grandmother's Spirit by Wandering 24 Fox. After yawning it, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I was visiting family in a country for the first time in 3 years after my grandma's passing. We made it to my grandma's house, and there were 6 family members waiting for us at the house. I saw a lady that looked like my grandma peeking around the kitchen door, smiling and waving like she was happy to see us. When my uncle said good to greet everyone, I was like, no, there's one more in the kitchen. Then I decided to go to the kitchen. I went to the kitchen and to see the lady I saw. There was no one there. The only door was the one I came inside, and they were all like, there is no one here, just us. I swear I saw a lady in there that looked like my grandma. After a few hours later, we were all talking on the porch bench, and I decided to bring up the lady I saw peeking through the kitchen again. My aunt then asked, what was she wearing? I described what she was wearing, and it was the same clothes my grandma passed away in. I was shocked. My aunt was freaked out. That much. I know. All she did was nod in agreement. Some were shocked when I described what she was wearing, so I guess my grandma was happy to see us, safely coming to her house. I can't believe I actually saw her spirit on that day that we arrived. Apparently, I'm not the only one who experiences paranormal activity in that house. My family members there experience the TV turning on by itself, shadows, etc. They get freaked out whenever this happens, but I actually did witness the TV channels next to me. The TV switching channels next to me. Strangely enough, the movie that played after it switched was a Conjuring movie. That's my story of when I saw her spirit. I still can't believe to this day, and I love it when my other family members get shocked when I tell them about this. So that's a very short one. Grammar's all over the place. They don't say where in Mexico, but I don't know. And a lot of people want to believe that they see their grandparents. So I can believe this one. I'll give credibility to this one. Whether it be or not, it's a good story. Anyways, that's a heartfelt story to leave off on. That's it, guys. Stay tuned for next week, like always. And now I will see you next time. Y'all will see me next time. Like, follow, subscribe, and stay spooky, my friends.